Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tadpole Arts. Today, we're starting a brand new series exploring the fascinating connection between art and history. We will discuss what history means, how art influences and mirrors history, how we can learn from art, and much, much more. Plato wrote in his book, The Republic, that the arts are in no sense an imitation of reality, and this is why their creations are superficial and artificial. Plato viewed art as a shabby imitation of the real world, and in Plato's mind, the physical world is just an imitation of a higher, more true world of forms. In this way, Plato was saying that art holds no meaning. He saw art as being removed not once but twice from a true representation of what he believed to be real. Theodore Adorno once critiqued that art is magic delivered from the lies of truth. He believed that art held no true utilitarian purpose or function. Art exists to exist and serves no other end. Both of these philosophers held the strong belief that art is simply a reflection of a specific time and place, and held no ability to actually create change in the world. A modern example of this thought process could be applied to the controversial song WAP by Nicki Minaj. The song has been criticized for being highly sexual and deviant. One could say the song broke ground with the types of music female artists were allowed to create. But Plato would argue instead that at this time and place when society has already begun accepting female sexuality, WAP did nothing. Instead, the song WAP is a simple reflection of where the music industry at this moment and its view of women. But is that true? Alright guys, before we get too far into the video, I just wanted to remind you all to like and subscribe, and comment down below, what are your thoughts? Firstly, let's discuss what art and history even is. For the purpose of this video series, art is anything created by humans that isn't a necessity. Some examples of this might be that humans need the ability to talk to survive, but we don't need the melodic beauty of singing. Humans need homes and buildings, but we don't need the beautiful architecture of old Victorian churches. Humans need to be able to read and write and keep records, but we don't need elaborate short stories, novels, and poetry. Humans need food to survive, but we don't need the culinary tastes of five-star chefs. The list could go on and on. Now, obviously, one could argue music, fine wine, a good cheese, and beautiful scenery are what make life worth living, but in the end, art isn't required for life to exist. The basic definition of history would be a collection of dates and events in the past. But that isn't how I want to define history for the sake of this video series. Instead, history is an overall study of past events, particularly human affairs. It isn't just the facts, but the organization and, most importantly, the interpretation of information about these events. The study of history includes a wide range of sources, including written documents, letters, oral accounts, first-hand experiences, artifacts, and more. And art has been present throughout all of human history. Long before humans were able to coherently speak, they were creating elaborate paintings on the walls of their cave dwellings. The El Castillo cave in Spain contains one of the oldest paintings on the planet, dating back at least 40,800 years ago. Before that, about 75,000 years ago, an artist in South Africa adorned the Blombos cave with engraved ochre pieces, consisting of abstract patterns, and are an example of the earliest known symbolic thought. About 35,000 years ago, an artist used mammoth ivory to carve a female figure now known as the Venus of Hulfels. These are some of the earliest examples of human creativity and abstract thought. These pieces of art go back long before human society, before complex speech, before written word. Art is the oldest form of history that we can study. The desire to create evolved alongside our desire and need to learn. Art is arguably what separates humans from animals. Humans create and animals exist. While art has been criticized by scholars, philosophers, and society as a whole as a useless endeavor, it's easy to see that it is actually central to the human experience. Art has been used as a means of communication long before written word. Cave dwellers painted warnings of predators and dangerous animals on walls. Art has been used as propaganda by governments and rulers since their very inception. So, if art is useless and unable to create any change in the world, and just a really, really bad reflection of reality, why then is it constantly censored, destroyed, defaced, stolen, and demeaned? Why do wealthy rulers fuss over their portraits showing how strong and honorable they are? Why do governments and organizations commission artists for works that align with their agenda? Take the USA, for example. During World War I and in 1943, an artist named J. Howard Miller was commissioned by the Westinghouse Electric Corporation as part of an effort to encourage women to enter the workforce during a time when men were absent due to war. Rosie the Riveter was born. The poster was of a beautiful woman wearing a polka dot red bandana, her forearm showing her muscles and the words, "We can do it," at the top. This is a modern example of the strength of art. This poster was plastered everywhere, in shop windows, on street poles, and was used as a very powerful type of propaganda. Women who were used to not having any power, who couldn't even maintain their own bank accounts, who never imagined themselves as being strong, independent, or important to their country, were suddenly seeing themselves reflected in this piece as strong, hardworking, and powerful. Rosie the Riveter is a perfect example of the power of art to extend farther than just a mere reflection of time. Rosie was the direct reason millions of women entered the workforce. As women entered the workforce, they began feeling a sense of strength and independence. This is what further sparked the equal pay movement. Feminists began exploring the idea that if women were just as important to the health and future of a country, then women should have the same rights to pay and property as their male counterparts. 20 years after Rosie sparked a movement of women into the workforce, the Equal Pay Act was passed, promising equitable wages for everyone, regardless of sex, religion, or race. In some cases, art was a requirement even for simple communication. During the dark history of slavery, especially in the late 17th and 18th century, when slavery became increasingly institutionalized in southern colonies as a means of economic expansion, enslaved people would use songs to communicate information to each other without the detection of overseers. Enslaved people used song as a means of spiritual connection, to communicate and pass the time during hard days of work, as codes with hidden messages and instructions on slave routes and ways to escape, and so much more. Music was integral to these African American communities. Enslaved people sang songs such as Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, or Go Down Moses, as a means of expressing the plights of slave life, often comparing their suffering to the suffering of the people of Moses in the Bible as they were enslaved by the Egyptians. Pick a Bale of Cotton is an example of work songs that enslaved people would use to pass time during a long, hot workday and avoid being beaten and singled out for silence. And songs like Steal Away Jesus were full of codes and hidden messages. Music was integral to enslaved people's lives and culture. Coded songs are proof of the utilitarian value of art, and just one of millions of examples of art and history being one and the same. Rosie the Riveter explores how important art is to the development of countries and economies. These two examples show that art does hold inherent value and utility. Art isn't just a backdrop to a nice, comfy life, but instead is the very thing that makes humans human. Art history is history. So while Plato can complain all he wants that art is useless, we know from real-world life events that it is one of humanity's most powerful tools of change and progress. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's the first in a series I want to call Art History, where I want to explore culture, history, and humanity from the perspective of artists and the art they create. I want to explore histories and art from around the world, and have videos planned on all sorts of topics, from religious art to ancient Egyptian art, and so much more. If you like this content and video, be sure to give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and comment down below, what's your favorite artistic time period, piece, or part of history that you want to explore? Have a good one, and thanks so much for watching.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself.